Hello and welcome to our Pigs Alley Social. Today we're going to be painting May flowers, and for inspiration I have this picture of a garden that I found online. I absolutely love all of the colors in it, the different shades of pink and purple, this little periwinkle in the background, and then all the shades of green with this sense of dappled light in the background. So first, find some inspiration, something that you really want to paint. Next, you'll need a surface to work on, and I'm using a piece of cardboard, which is actually just a cut up cereal box. Then you'll need a couple brushes, or just one if that's all you have. I have two different sizes here. I like to work general to specific, so I have a slightly larger brush for the general areas, and then a slightly smaller brush for little details, the more specific spots. Then I have my palette here. It's a plate of paints. I am going to be working with white, yellow, red, blue, pink, and brown. And then I pre-mix some of the secondary colors, my orange, green, and purple. And then to get started, when I look at a picture, I like to take a complicated scene and break it down into just simple lines and simple shapes. So using my brown paint and my smaller brush, I went in and just eyeballed where everything was. I started with this blossom in the lower left and placed it on my surface. And then from there, I started to work some of these diagonal lines that kind of are a pattern that lead you through. And then I placed the other blossoms and just some basic lines to give me a sense of what's happening with the shapes in the background. So once you're happy with your composition, your arrangement of things on your surface, you can start blocking in the color, which to me is the really fun part of painting. And I like to work in terms of value, shades from light to dark. And I actually usually work from dark to light. So in looking at this picture, I squint a lot when I paint, and I look to see where the darkest spots are. And in squinting at this, it's very dark green in the background. So I'm going to start laying in my dark green spots back here where I see the darkest shades in my painting. Just going to cover that all in like that. And then I kind of work in this mosaic style with patches of paint, putting them wherever I see the color that happens to be on my brush, which right now is this darker shade of green. And there are some darker shades down here too. So that's my start. Then I'm going to go in and work the lightest shade of green, which I've pre-mixed here using some yellow, white, and a little bit of blue. And this is a nice bright green color for springtime. I'm just going to spread this all over everywhere I see it, the light green. Now this is acrylic paint, which dries fairly quickly, and I have to admit, since I pre-mixed these piles, some of them are already starting to dry up, so I'm going to have to add some more paint into them. All right, and then there's a medium green somewhere in between that dark and light. And there's a lot of that down here. And then a little bit more of it over here. So when I paint, I like to lose sense of what I'm actually painting and just see it, like I said, in terms of lines, shapes, and shades. So next up, I see some yellow in there behind this flower. And as you'll notice, I have not painted the flowers yet. I'm working all around them. That's the negative space. And it's another way I like to approach painting. I like to paint in all of my negative space before I paint in the actual objects. The negative space can make things happen without them actually being on the canvas yet, or the cardboard as the case may be. There's more yellow back here. All right, so I've almost filled in all my negative space. There's just a little more green over here to separate those blossoms out. And then there's actually a little bit of something up there. Just it's a lot of bright light coming through. So just like the Impressionists did with dots of color, I'm gonna put some dots of light coming through the bushes up there. And then one last stroke of dark to fill in that spot. And now it's going to be time to add those pops of color that are in the flowers. I'm going to start with this purple that I pre-mixed using pink and blue. And I'm going to get this blossom on there. And this one over here is going to be that same purple. And then we've got some that are a little pinker. So these have some pink mixed with some red. And then this one's somewhere in between the pink and the purple. So I'm going to mix those two piles together to get it on there. And that's one thing I like to do when I paint. I like to keep my palette somewhat unified and just use what colors I have to blend and make things look similar. All right, so those were all in the same color family there. And then we have these deeper purples here. It looks like I don't have that shade on my palette, so I'm going to mix up some of the pink and some of the blue again to get that on there. And I'm using my brush to work just the shapes of those petals. The size of the brush is actually just perfect. And what I'm realizing now is I haven't gone to the smaller brush yet. Like I said, I'm working general to specific, and I'm still working with my big brush, blocking out the colors. Look at that. And then it looks like there's some pops of orange scattered over the surface. So I've got one pop of orange back here, a little bit of orange here, orange here. And then one last color I have on my palette that I haven't put on the surface yet is this Periwinkle, which was actually what really drew me to this picture in the first place. I liked this bluish color in the background. Might do a little bit of it over here too. And then I'm going to have to vary the shading on that. It's a little lighter at the top. And the more you shade, the more rounded and three-dimensional things look. That blue patch has a lot more dimension now that there's a dark, medium, and light area to it. And now these flowers need some more dimension. So I'm going to go back in and work these a bit more, adding some darks. And like I said, the more shades you use, the more things are going to pop. So I'm going to go darker with my darks and lighter with my lights to really make things look 3D. And again, I'm still using this big brush. I haven't moved to the small one yet. I may need to go there soon. But this one is working. And these are starting to look more rounded. That even goes lighter there. I don't like to use straight white. I like to use white tinted with some color. So these light spots are white tinted with the purple. And I'm thinking about the direction of light. We've got the sun hitting the tops of these flowers. So all of the tops of the flowers should have that same sense of light hitting them. This pink needs to go lighter here. There we go. Blend it into the darker side there. And then this flower has a tulip shape back here. That could go even lighter. Let's see what happens. And again, a lot of painting for me is experimentation, just playing around with things. You can always readjust if you go too much in one direction. So I'm going to go back into these flowers and lighten them up a little bit. Or so I think. They're not actually going as light as I intended. So again, that'll just be a little adjustment there. Lighten that shade up a little bit more. And get it back on there. And now my oranges are starting to fade into the background. So I'm gonna have to mix a lighter orange with some yellow, some red, and some white. That looks like a nice light orange, and we've got the light orange flower back there. A little hint of one there. Over here. Clean that orange off my brush. And now I'm gonna go and adjust this area here. It looks from my picture like there's just some more variation in there. There's some darker green spots. And when I paint, I always think about edges, the way things hit each other. This green area here is dark next to the light of that yellow. And then that yellow goes a little darker, and I have it. So I'm actually gonna go back into that orangish pile I had to deepen my yellow just a little bit on one side, and then lighten it on the other. And while I have this light yellow on here, I'm just gonna add some light to this. And I like to work the whole surface the whole time, and then I find that my eye moves nicely around the whole painting. Keep lightening this up a bit. Some lighter spots back there. A little bit over here. I'm just squinting and squinting to see how this is looking. I think I need a bit of a dark here. Sometimes it helps to have some dark spots to really add some weight to the picture. And last but not least, I'm going to break out that little brush I was talking about with the detail. I tend to like working just general. I don't often add that many details, but I'm going to go in with some strokes of green with this to get a sense of stems here for these flowers. And there's some stems here. Whoop, I'm going over what I did. But I kind of like these quirky little lines here. It's just a different design element in the painting. And now, because I was talking so much about shading, those can't just be a flat green. I'm gonna lighten one side of them. In keeping with this sense of light. Let's see, this needs to go a lot lighter against that purple. Whoop. I went too light over here. Again, like I said, you play around and then might have to adjust. Again, squinting so much that my eyes are practically closed. I think it looks like this flower needs some more light there. All right, and now they say a painting can be finished at any stage. I'm not 100% sure this is done, but I like the point that it's at right now. So I'm going to put down my brush and take a break. I'm going to look at it with fresh eyes in a little bit, and I might make some last minute adjustments just in looking at it quickly right now. I'm thinking these blues here that I love so much maybe could go a little bit lighter, but I'm liking how these are coming toward us and that background's kind of pushing back. I might play a little bit more to get that a little bit more defined, but I think that was a pretty good, quick demo of these May flowers, and I hope that you'll give it a try at home. And if you do a painting, you'll share it with us with the hashtag PigsAlleySocial. Thank you.